Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, this is Out There with Dean, and I'm Dean. And on this channel, we talk all things travel, from flights, hotels, cruises, and destination guides. So today, this video is a little bit different. This is part one of a series that I'll be doing on the MSC World America. I'm currently on the MSC World America, and for this video, I'm going to be looking at the stateroom that I'm staying in. So that is the Deluxe Balcony Stateroom. Over the next few videos, I'll be covering everything on this ship, including the ship itself, the dining experiences, the entertainment, and all the different things that you can do on board, and what this ship actually has to offer. So this is my second MSC cruise. The last one was on the MSC Meraviglia. So make sure you're subscribed so you can check out what's coming up on the MSC World America. So the MSC World America is MSC Cruises' newest ship. It officially launched in April of 2025, making this one of the most modern cruise ships sailing right now. So I feel really lucky to be able to be on it. I'm filming this in January 2026. She's part of the world class of ships that the MSC have. And at the moment, there are only two ships in this class. So that's the MSC World America, which I'm on, and the MSC World Europa. That's important to mention because this stateroom review is largely relevant to the Europa as well, with only a few minor differences between the two ships depending on the deck and the location. This cruise was booked through the MSC Australian website, and it's a 2-week back-to-back Caribbean cruise sailing from Miami. I'll talk about the exact price and value right at the end of this video, so stay tuned to see how much this sailing cost. And just for some context, this is my second time cruising with MSC, as I mentioned before. So now let's step inside the room. So as I mentioned, this is the Deluxe Balcony Stateroom, and the first thing I want to talk about is the location that I'm staying on the ship and the room size. So I'm currently on deck 15 and room 205, so 15205. So I'm towards the back of the ship, which some people may or may not like. You get a little bit more motion when you're at the back of the ship than what you would if you're in the midship. But that's not really an issue for me. So if you're a first-time cruiser, one thing I always like to point out is stateroom size. So first-time cruisers may actually expect that the stateroom size will be a similar size to a normal hotel room that they would stay in. And this simply isn't the case. It's never going to be the case. Cruise ship staterooms, so the standard staterooms, non-suite based ones, are typically always a whole lot smaller than what your hotel room would ever be. But it's all about how the cruise line utilizes the space that they give you, which is what is really important. That said, for a cruise stateroom that isn't a suite, this room feels really generous. The layout is smart and the space is really well utilized, and it doesn't feel cramped or awkward in any way at all. One thing I noticed while walking past other cabins is that the internal balconies, so you have ocean-facing balconies, which is what I have, but you also have internal-facing balconies which look into the World Promenade area. Those ones appear to be about half the size of this room, so just be mindful of that if you're booking one of the world-class ships. That this may apply to the World Europa as well, that those cabins don't have a full sitting area like this one does. So it appears, and this is just as a glance, that when you look in, they cut out a whole lot of the room, so it goes straight from the entry door with the bathroom just there and then the bed straight away, so there's no sitting area in there. This may feel a little bit cramped if you're in one of those rooms, especially if there's two or more people staying in one of those staterooms. So that is a bit of a difference, but there is also a price difference in regards to an ocean balcony and an internal balcony. But for a standard balcony or a deluxe balcony ocean view, this room, again, it does feel very generous. So for a bit of a room tour, on one side of the room as you come in, there's a large and quite a comfortable sofa. It's actually what I'm sitting on right now to do this video. If you're traveling with more than 2 people, this sofa will actually be made up into a bed. It can be made up into one single bed or actually a bunk bed as well. So as we've been walking past and glancing into other cabins, we see that the sofa's been made up into a bunk bed. So it's quite a smart design and a smart use of the space. So when there's only 2 people here, you can have this as a sofa. If somebody is snoring or if they're a bit loud in bed, you could probably just crash on here for the night if you really wanted to. But yeah, really good use of the space. If you're just traveling as a couple, the sofa is great to have still, just for somewhere to sit down that isn't the bed, somewhere to relax and have a bit of a coffee or a drink, or somewhere you can just dump your bags. We've been using this as a little bit of a dumping ground for our bags, for clothes that we want to have for later on in the day, maybe our swimwear or whatever. It's a pretty robust material, so it's comfortable, but it doesn't feel like it's going to be damaged if you put something wet or damp on there, which is great as well. It's a small thing, but it really does add to the livability of a room. Depending on, I guess, how much you're going to be in the room as well. But it really does add to the livability. It means that you can have some time out here and you've got a bit of space to sit down, you're not on your bed, and you can make yourself at home, really. So directly opposite the sofa in this room, there's a desk. Now, the desk is quite large and it's one of the most practical features of this room. So you've really got a proper desk space where you could use this as a writing desk. If you had some work to do on a laptop, you could sit down and do that on the laptop. There's a little mini pull-out table, which I've actually got my camera set up on at the moment. So that can be used as a little bit of a cheese board if you wanted to have some cheese and wine in the room and sit on the sofa. And there's also an additional footstool or an additional stool if you wanted to sit on that tucks underway inside the desk as well. So it's really quite smart how it all sort of folds into itself. Inside the desk drawers, there's a number of desk drawers. There's 3 of them and a slide-out drawer. Inside there, you'll find your safe for the room, which is a great design. You may think it takes up one of the drawer spaces. I guess it does, but actually having the safe in there rather than the wardrobe is a massive benefit because you don't lose your wardrobe space. There's a mini bar that's built into the desk as well, and there's a hairdryer which is provided, which is attached into the desk drawer as well. So if you're somebody traveling and you typically travel with a hairdryer on the MSC World America, you don't need to bring that. That's actually provided for you and it's installed into the desk drawer. One important thing to note though, with the minibar, even if you have the drinks package, the all-included drinks package, the items that are in the minibar aren't included. It seems a little bit odd given that the items that are in the minibar are like cans of Coke and different bottles of water. They are all included in your drinks package if you're outside on the ship, but if you are to use them in the minibar, they will charge additional to your room. So just an important thing to know about the room. That's common across all MSC stateroom classes. I think once you get into the yacht club area, which is the MSC ship within a ship, sort of the first class experience, that might be a little bit different. But back to the desk itself, what I really like here is just how much storage the desk actually has and the smart use of the storage. There's some shelving above the desk as well, and there's a fairly large mirror there as well. It also makes the room feel a little bit bigger having that large mirror there, but also having those couple of shelves that are above the desk just help out with, again, the smart use of the space for this room. It makes it feel like you've got a whole lot more space than what you actually really do. So the next thing to talk about in this room is the wardrobe and closet space. The wardrobe situation in this room is actually quite excellent, especially for 2 people. So on one side, you've got space to hang all of your clothing. If you wanted to hang shirts or dresses or even pants, there's hangers that are provided. And if you need more hangers, you can just ask your room attendant and they will bring you more hangers at any point. So there's plenty of space to hang your clothes on one side. There's some space below that to keep your shoes or even to put your carry-on luggage if you wanted to put it in there. On the other side, it's well designed, so there's a whole lot of shelving and a whole lot of drawers for your clothes. Now, for a 2-week cruise with 2 adults, this space has felt fantastic. We haven't really needed to think about the space in there at all. There's more than enough space for both of us. I think if there was more than 2 people in here, that's when you would have to start being a little bit smart in the way that you're using the space. So you'd really have to consider how you're going to equal that out and how you're going to allocate that to each person that's in the room. But again, for 2 people, which I think is what would typically be in this room, maybe 2 people and a child or 2 kids, I don't see that there would be too much of an issue for a family for space-wise in terms of the wardrobe space. You may need to think about it if you've got some kids, but for 2 adults, there's not an issue at all. Okay, the next thing to talk about is the bathroom. Is it small? Yes, it's small, and that's because it's a cruise ship bathroom, and typically all cruise ship bathrooms, until you get to the suite classes, are really small. But despite the small feeling, it still feels premium and well finished and well thought out, and the spacing in there feels like it's intentional. The real standout feature in this bathroom, and this goes across the other MSC sailing I had as well a couple of years back, is the shower, surprisingly. Now, when I think cruise ships, I typically don't think that you're going to get a good shower experience. I know that I've been to many hotels where you think you're going to get a premium experience and it really just doesn't pan out that way. For this cruise ship and for the last MSC cruise ship I was on, the Meraviglia, the shower is exceptional. There's a couple of things that make it exceptional. One is the water pressure. It's probably the best shower that I've actually had since I've left Australia. So I've stayed in a couple of hotels before we started this cruise, and this is probably the best shower I've had, funny enough, on a cruise ship. So the water pressure is really one thing that I think makes a good shower. It's got a good shower head that you can adjust to make it sort of rainwater or jet or whatever. But really the water pressure is exceptional. The water's really hot as well. You can have it really hot if you want, and it's fully adjustable, and there's a bit of a child safety lock on there to make sure you don't burn yourself. That's how hot it can get. That's another thing that makes such a great shower. So you get a lot of pressure, a lot of heat, but the last thing is you actually have a glass shower door. It's not relying on a curtain, a shower curtain. On a cruise ship, a shower curtain can actually feel like it's limiting space because it encloses in on you. As I've mentioned in other videos, I'm quite a big guy, so if I'm in a shower curtain situation, the shower curtain goes all over the place. You get water everywhere in your bathroom, and it just makes the whole experience not as great. Here you've got a shower door that sort of snap locks in, so it's magnetic. It means that all the water stays where it's supposed to and none of it gets out into the main part of the bathroom. It's really an exceptional experience in that shower, and it's one of the, I guess, the highlights of the bathroom. The other thing in the bathroom is there is quite good use of storage there as well. It provides a couple of shelves so you can put your toiletries and other material on there. It's probably a good idea if you've got a lot of toiletries to get one of those bags that hang over the door. I don't have one for this trip. I've just used the shelving that's there. It's working fine. And there's also some space underneath the sink to store some additional things if you so wish. But there's a lot of towel racks. It's great use of space. And there's also a little clothesline as well that you can hang up. If you're going to dry clothes, it's probably best to do it in the main part of the cabin where the air conditioning is. It just tends to dry things a whole lot quicker. But again, for a small bathroom and a small cruise bathroom, this one is really exceptional. Again, small, but a great use of space, and actually feels really premium what they've got in there, so it's great. So I've intentionally left this one to the end of the room tour, and that's the bed and sleep comfort. It's really important on a cruise, especially if you're on a cruise for a number of weeks, to have a bed that's comfortable. And the bed here is a king-size bed, and it's probably one of the most comfortable beds I've slept in away from home. It's really quite exceptional, and I don't know how MSC have done it, given that they need to have so many of these beds, and they seem like they would cost a whole lot of money. But Look, you can choose to have the configuration as a king-size bed or as a twin, as the twin setup where it splits the bed in half. The mattress is quite firm, but in the best possible way. It's really well supportive. If it's too firm for you, you can always ask your room attendant for a mattress topper and they'll be able to provide that. It's probably a good idea to do that early on in your cruise, like day one, as soon as you see your room attendant, because I hear that those things can tend to run out quite quickly. They only have a limited amount. But really, the bed is exceptional, it's supportive, and it's perfect after a long day on the ship, or if you've been out at port going on an adventure and you just need a solid night's sleep. I've had some of the best sleeps that I've had in ages on this bed for the last 2 weeks. So really quite exceptional. My sleep quality has been exceptional, and any noise issues aside, which I'll talk about later, the bed has been remarkable. And also the pillow selection that they have on MSC, they've got a number of pillows that you can choose from, and you just need to ask your room attendant to swap the pillows over if you want firmer or softer pillows. It's quite exceptional and one of the best features of this cruise. And of course, let's talk about the balcony. This is a deluxe balcony stateroom. It's an ocean-facing balcony. This balcony is a decent size, and in this particular room, it's completely unobstructed. So when you're booking your cruise, you can go through and have a look at different levels of balconies. Some will be advertised as slight obstruction or partially obstructed balconies. I didn't want any risk of that for this cruise, so I made sure I got the deluxe unobstructed balcony. And look, it's exceptional. The views, as you can see here, are second to none. You really just do have a view forever on this balcony. So on the balcony, you've got 2 chairs and this small bench, which is fairly flexible. It can be used, I guess, as a table, although it's hard to balance glasses or things like that on there just because it is a little bit flexible. I think what it's really intentioned for is another seat, maybe for a child or for a third person. I think the balcony size is perfectly fine for 2 adults. I think if you were to have more than 2 adults in your room, or even 2 adults and 2 children, and everyone wanted to be on the balcony, that's when you would start to have a bit of an issue. The balconies in these particular rooms aren't really set up for more than 2 people, and that's really evident by just having 2 chairs there. Maybe you could get 1 child on there just sitting down, but you really don't want any more than that on the balcony. Yeah, it's fine, and it's serviceable, and it's a great space for 2 people. For morning coffees, to watch the sailways, or watching sunsets, it's a perfect space, and I probably would never cruise without at least having a balcony cabin and an ocean view balcony cabin. I think that's really important to mention, the ocean view, because there's more and more cruise ships now that are being built that have that internal balcony layout, and those internal balconies, they are susceptible to a whole lot more room noise because they're looking into the ship where there's entertainment areas. Even if it's not a full entertainment area, there may be restaurants, there may be a walkway or something down there, and you're inherently going to get more noise from those balconies and into your room than you otherwise would on an ocean view balcony. The last thing that's worth a mention in this room is just the amount of charging ports and the amount of plugs and different outlets that you have. It's really quite impressive for the World Series of ships to have this many different plugs and this many different USB and charging stations. So in this room, we've got 2 European plug sockets. Now, MSC is a European cruise liner, or European owned cruise liner. We've got 2 international plug sockets. So you can plug your Australian plugs in there, you can plug your US, your European, your UK, all different regions. It's a universal plug socket. There's 2 USB-A sockets on the desk. And then each bedside also has a USB-C outlet as well, which is quite remarkable. It's really been well thought out, and they've tried to future-proof this as much as they can. They know that more and more people are bringing devices that need charging, and really, if you were traveling with a family of 4 on this ship, there would be enough plugs and enough charging outlets to be able to cater to all of those people. So it's quite impressive, and it's one of the things that I've been quite surprised about. I haven't needed to try and use a multi-plug adapter or anything like that on this ship. Funny enough, my cruise safe multi-plug adapter was actually confiscated on entry, so lucky there are so many outlets to service. But yeah, again, standout feature. So I'm going to quickly go through what I really loved about this room, and it's probably been evident already. But the first thing is obviously the bed. I think it's so important after a long day, as I said, a long day at port or on the ship exploring, that there's a comfortable bed to come back to. And this bed is really standout. As I said before, you've got the option of different pillow configurations. You can always ask your room attendant for a mattress topper if it is a bit too firm, but the bed is really standout. And one of the things that I think MSC have done really, really well is provide the most comfortable bed that they could. So this is definitely one of my favorite things. The second thing is just the overall size and the smart layout of the room. I think MSC have done a really great job of how they've utilized the space that they're providing. I know some cruise lines don't get it quite right, and it can feel a bit cramped. This room, even though it may be small compared to a hotel room, it feels like you've got a whole lot more space than what you would in some hotel rooms. So again, it's one of my most favorite things of this room, that it is so well utilized. The room size feels much bigger than it actually is, and it feels really livable for a number of weeks, which is so important. And finally, one thing that I haven't spoken about, which has been my absolute favorite thing, is our cabin attendant, and the cabin attendants in general. So our cabin attendant has always been really close by, always happy to help us out, and has genuinely loved chatting with us when he's had time, or showing us different parts of the ship when we were a little bit lost or we didn't know about something. It didn't matter what I've asked him or what I've wanted to talk to him about, he's always been wonderful. And no matter when we left the room, so if it was early in the morning, later in the morning, he's always made up the room before we've managed to get back. So the cabin attendants are really on point on the World America. And one of the things that have made the cruise truly special, so one of my favorite things, and I think that's the staff in general on the World America, they've all been so exceptionally pleasant and willing and wanting to help. So the cabin attendant really has made the room special. So it's probably important to mention what I haven't really liked in this room. And there's really only been one thing that I haven't enjoyed, and it's not the fault of the room or of MSC, but it's the noise. Because this was a back-to-back sailing, halfway through the cruise, most passengers disembarked and new ones boarded. Unfortunately, for us both times, we ended up with very noisy families next door to us. Their kids have been banging on the walls to like 11:30 p.m, 1 a.m. in the morning, which has made that initial getting to sleep very difficult. Cruise ship rooms aren't soundproof, and I do think there needs to be better reminders for passengers when they're boarding, especially if they have children, to be mindful of the noise that they're producing. The staterooms aren't really a place to be noisy. You've got a whole ship, there's kids clubs, there's pool areas, there's everywhere else on the ship where you can be noisy. The one place that you probably should try to reduce your noise a little bit is actually in your room. This hasn't ruined the cruise at all. Look, we're on holiday, so it's still quite relaxing. It was just bad luck with our neighbours, but it's still worth mentioning. It can be a bit of a luck of the draw of who you get next to you. There are some general rules that you should always abide by when you're booking a cruise as well. So one of those is to make sure you don't have an adjoining door. So some of the cabins will have adjoining doors internally. We made sure we didn't have that. And one of the other rules is to always make sure you have a cabin either side of you and above and below you. We've done that as well. The noise hasn't been from the crew or from the ship itself, it's actually just been from the other passengers, which is a little bit disappointing. But really, if you're sailing for 2 weeks and that's the only issue or the only thing that you haven't been 100% happy with, and it's not a deal breaker at all, I think it's still a pretty great experience. So that's the only thing. So as I said, this is the start of a bit of a series on the MSC World America. I thought I'd start with a room tour and a walkthrough just to give you a bit of an idea of what to expect on the World America if you're planning to sail on this ship, and the sort of experience that you would get in the cabin. My next videos will be covering, as I said at the beginning, more generally the layout of the ship, the experiences that you can have, and the entertainment and the dining options of the ship. As I mentioned before, for this sailing, this back-to-back sailing, this is 2 weeks and through the Caribbean with I think 5 stops of 5 different ports that we've had. This sailing was 10,500 AU for 2 people in this stateroom. So that may seem like a bit of money or fairly costly, but actually it's quite affordable. If you break that down per night and split that between 2 people, that's all of our accommodation, all of our food, and we also have the drink package and Wi-Fi package built into that price as well. So for 2 people, 10,500 not each, 10,500 altogether, split that between 2. It is actually quite an affordable vacation for 2 weeks when you factor in all the things that you would typically pay out when you're on vacation. So look, if you've enjoyed this video, please like it. Please leave a comment to let me know what cruise you've been on or what you're looking to go on in the future. If you've been enjoying these videos, please subscribe. It really does help me out. And until next time, I'll see you later. Bye.